didn't see you there. Hey, real quick heads up. The sim rig in this video was provided by SimMotion, but don't worry, the views and opinions are expressed in this video are all mine, and they have zero editorial control over what I say. So yeah, gonna get back to this, you get to the video. What's up everybody in Nerdland? Dave Adams here with Inside Sim Racing, and today I want to take you all on a behind the scenes journey as we check out what it takes to go from a DIY sim rig like this to a premium top tier cockpit like this. It's gonna be one hell of a journey, so grab some popcorn and let's get rocking.
The following took place over several days, hence the outfit changes.
You see, most sim racing jerks would just cut to this part where we're already at the finish line and we're doing the really cool driving in a really cool scene with a really cool rig.
But we're a different breed of jerk here at Inside Sim Racing, so let's rewind the clock and see how this all got started.
It all started back in 1984. It'd only been a few moments since I'd been born, and...
No, stop. That's nowhere near what I mean.
So friends and followers of the channel who've been around with us for a while know that I run a fully DIY setup for my sim racing chassis. It works really well for what it is, and you know what? I am super duper proud of this thing. I mean, it took me a long time for me to finalize everything and get everything in the right spot, but now that it's there, I could just, I can close my eyes and grab the handbrake. I don't have to look at the shifter to know where it is. I can do everything I need to do right there. And I can even go over to my sequential and run through gears with that without having to look down. And that's a really important thing when you're trying to do, especially with what I do, which is rally and drifting. You need to be able to keep your eyes on the screen and look around at all times to make sure that you know exactly where you're going. And like I said earlier, this rig is nothing super special, other than special to me, that is. I literally took an old desk from Goodwill, ripped it apart, pulled all the drawers out of it so I can place accessories in various locations, such as my button box and my shifters. I did have to make a cutout for my handbrake because the desk was a little bit too weak to hold the handbrake in place without flexing the entire desk. You can see I've got all of my SimHub displays right where I need them to be. I can look at the leaderboards up above me. I can get all sorts of information regardless of what I'm trying to see, whether it be tire temps, track times, lap times, whatever may have you. It's all right here in front of me on these three screens. That way I don't have to run a HUD at all. Oop. And I can just be completely immersed into what it is that I'm doing. Okay, Dave, so you're supposed to be trying to convince us as to why you're going to a premium rig from your DIY rig. It sounds like the DIY setup is the perfect option. And for a lot of you out there, maybe it is, but there is no such thing as perfect. So let's take a look at some of the... I know, boo! Why go into the negatives first? Well, I want to get the negatives out of the way because I know a lot of you have very busy days ahead of you and you kind of want to see what are the drawbacks of going DIY before you attempt to dive into it for yourself. All right, so the first drawback of my setup in particular is that unless you're 6'2", 215 pounds with a 34-inch inseam and a 36-inch reach, shout out to all my fighters out there, then this is probably not going to work for you. And I mean, my specific setup is probably not going to work for you. You will not be able to comfortably sit down in my sim rig and start driving. The pedals will be in the wrong spot, the wheel will be way too far or way too close, the shifters won't be where you think they should be. It won't be a good feel. As with anything DIY, you have the opportunity to make things super flexible or super specific, and I went the super specific route. Everything is set up for my maximum immersion and my maximum enjoyment of driving in sim. And for a lot of you watching right now, that might be a non-starter. Right there, say no more. Why? Because you want to drive with your friends. You have friends, you have family. Maybe sim racing for you or sim driving or rally or whatever may have you isn't just for competition or your way to escape. Maybe it's a way for you to bond with your family. Maybe you like when your kids can get on and try to do some driving. You show them the ropes of how it was back in your day, right? So that non-adjustability might be the end game factor for you and you just go, nope, I'm done with DIY right there. Another limitation you might see is that when it comes to upgrading to something like motion, as an example, it's really hard to take something that might not be built like a standard off-the-shelf rig and fit it to a motion system. That said, it can be done, but unlike when you buy a rig from a manufacturer, it might be worth considering the fact that, hey, this might be a little difficult to make happen with my own hand-built rig. And on that note, accessories. If you get the upgrade bug like a lot of us do and you want to switch things out or try new accessories, unbolting and rebolting things to something that's wood can be a bit problematic. That can be really difficult and you can wear out those bolt holes and screw holes really fast, thus rendering the mounting options pretty much worthless. And speaking of breaking things, that ties us nicely into my last drawback, and that's the manufacturing process. Making it yourself is labor intensive. You have to want to do it. Whether it's knowing that you're saving a bunch of money by doing it yourself, or you just like tinkering and building and the joy of having something that you built by hand, you kind of sort of have to want to do this. And with that, you need all the tools, you need all the parts, you need all the pieces. If you don't have those things, you now have to go out to a shop and pick those things up. And try as I might, no one out there accepts hugs as payment. And I'm really good at hugging. And that's where you get to the situation where now you might start to negate the savings benefit of going DIY, and you probably should have just gone with something pre-built. But you know what? That's enough of me being a Debbie Downer. I am so pumped to talk about... Well, even though you really shouldn't end your sentences with a preposition, that is a really good question. I mean, it's fair, yeah? If I'm switching from a purpose-built DIY rig, then I better be switching to something that's pretty damn special. Right? Right?
Actually, come with me.
You see, in the hierarchy of high-end sim racing chassis, there's premium, there's top tier,
And then there's this. This is SimMotion's own 160mm premium aluminum chassis built by V&M. Starting right around $800 US and sitting at about $1,700 as tested, this is a heavy-duty extruded aluminum chassis. It features adjustable driving positions, it's completely modular, supports a wide range of sim gear from your most entry-level belt and gear-driven wheelbases all the way up to the most advanced, hardcore, high-torque direct drive wheelbases like my R25 Ultra and beyond. For my fellow nerds out there, this chassis is constructed from 40x160 and 40x120 black anodized aluminum profiles. This ensures high rigidity and near limitless durability. We're talking completely flex-free driving regardless of what you're running. Wheelbases and accessory mount support gear from Fanatec, Moza, Logitech, Thrustmaster, Simucube, Asetek. And all these. And these. Also these. And these.
But enough of all that! You didn't come here to watch me mindlessly drive and blab on about the pros and cons of DIY. Or maybe you did. I don't know your life. Most of you are here to watch me transform from this guy over to that new sim rig. So, DJ, kick the music. Let's get started.
We were sparks on quiet streets, two hearts finding where to meet. But life pulled us apart, left me talking to the dark. If I called you tonight, would it feel the same? Or have we both moved on to different names? Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars, when the world felt small and your hands felt warm. Take me back to the start, if only for a moment. I've been up since 3, scrolling talk like we're fine, but your name still lives in my rhyme. Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars. Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars. When the world felt small and your hands felt warm. Take me back to the start, if only for a moment. If only for a moment. If only for a moment. Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars. When the world felt small and your hands felt warm. Take me back to the start, if only for a moment.
Okay, so now that I've got the rig set up and I've just sat down, what are my first impressions? Well, I can't lie, this is something I wasn't quite expecting. It's a completely different experience. V&M and SimMotion have really put together a quality piece of kit here. This chassis is absolutely next level. It's rigid, it's absolutely tactile. Like you can see as I'm going around corners, the wheel is moving. That is not me actually, sawing out the wheel. That's the road texture being transmitted through the tires up into the steering rack and into the steering wheel. My DIY sim rig was very well built, but it was very well built because it had to be. Because wood has an inherent amount of flex, and that's just inherent to the properties of wood, especially when you're bolting metal components to that. And it's something you really don't notice until you sit down in something like this, where every bit of the road surface is transmitted back into your fingertips. I can't imagine what this is gonna be like when I actually get my haptics bolted to all of this. Right now, my haptics aren't bolted to this because they were custom built for my DIY rig. My new tactile transducer is actually ordered and delivered and installed. It's going to be just that much better. I want to get back onto talking about the flex here because that's actually a big component of what some people might see as an upgrade path for going DIY, or rather what they may see as the reason to go from DIY to a premium rig such as this one. Like I said, the wood does have an amount of flex, and it may not be like torquing flex, like you might not be able to see things moving back and forth or side to side, but when you're sitting there, slamming on the brake pedal or pulling back on a handbrake, that wood is giving slightly because it has to. And it's not until you sit in something like this that you realize, oh wow, there really was an amount of flex there. This is crazy how good this is. And like I said, V&M and SimMotion have really done an amazing job with this. There's a lot to be said about that. If you enjoy DIY, and we'll talk more about this later, if you enjoy DIY, then DIY. By all means, because if you enjoy DIY, then you probably have all the tools. You either have access to materials or you already have the materials in your garage or shop. But if you're looking at the utmost of what a sim racing chassis can be, this has turned me into a believer. Something that people overlook with DIY a lot of the time. They'll, put something together and their monitors are either too high or too low. And that could just lead to fatigue. And for me, it gets rid of the two most important things when it comes to sim driving and sim racing. Number one at the top of my list is immersion. I want to forget that I'm sitting in my office. I can't do VR because I get stereoscopic headaches. So this is the next best thing. Having 3 well-positioned monitors and having a premium sim chassis like this one from SimMotion and built by V&M. A premium chassis like this with the monitors set up just right, just beautiful. I could do this all day. Look at these trees, look at the grass, just look at the stuff pass by, look at the snow caps up there. I think we're heading over there now. That's gonna be a lot of fun. But with that, since we are talking about first impressions, and I wanna be completely honest, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The astute of you may notice that things are very different from how I had it on my DIY rig. There's no 6th gear. How I had it on my DIY rig. My handbrake, for instance, which is very important to me as a rally driver and a drifter, my handbrake is no longer able to be up here.
Actually, after speaking with Darren, I was shown a really cool way to mount the handbrake vertically. It doesn't work as elegantly with the Moza HBP, but it works better than what I had before. And if I ever decide to upgrade my handbrake, I now have a way to mount it so that I can place it exactly where I need it to be. Now back to the video.
You'll also notice that I'm down to one SimHub screen. That's because, again, I don't have a space for my other displays, which will be rectified soon. As soon as I figure out what the solution for that is, I'll get that going. And I will, you can't see it, but I also don't have my 4th display up top because that requires a special bracket. But once I get that bracket, I will go ahead and put my 4th display back on, and everything will be just peachy, just like it was before, except a lot more rigid. I really can't emphasize just how much more rigid this chassis is than a DIY chassis made out of wood. Again, if you're running a DIY chassis, like I said, we'll discuss it later, but don't think that you're missing out on a whole lot. However, if you do want to experience what's on the other side of that hill, this chassis, as I'll mention later on, this chassis could be it for you. This really could be it. That also wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Was it easier than building it myself? 1,000,000%. You're talking about a matter of hours versus a matter of days, weeks, or months. Especially if you're not stupid like me. You gotta remember, guys, I'm a US Marine, and if I don't have my crayons in the morning, I tend to just do things, and I start hitting things with a hammer if they don't work for me. So there are a lot of mistakes that I made that if you just read the instructions like I was supposed to, you'll have no problem getting your rig put together. There were so many times when I got something bolted in, and I did the rookie mistake of tightening it fully before getting the other half built. And then I was wondering, why is this crooked? Or why is this twisted? Why doesn't this sit flush? Oh, because I'm a moron. That's right. But seriously, if you're on a desk setup and the main reason you don't go with the sim rig, aside from cost, is because you're concerned that it might be too encompassing or too encumbering to get your hands into and start getting built together, do not worry about it. In fact, if you just reach out to SimMotion with any questions about any part of this rig being put together, this just makes it so much more approachable. This makes it so much more enjoyable because you build it once and it's done. Everything else is just an add-on. Everything else is just a minor adjustment. You don't have to take things apart. Oh, lock the brakes up. You don't have to take things apart to make it work. You can just kind of say, oh, I want to move my shifter, and you move your shifter. I want to change my wheelbase, and you change your wheelbase. I want different pedals, and you change the pedals out. This is the beginning, the middle, and the end, as we'll get to later when it comes to sim racing. All right. I'll stop talking about everything else. Let's get to the final thoughts. That depends on who you ask. I know that's a cop-out answer. That's such a cop-out answer, and I'm so sorry. But it really does depend on who you're asking and what you're asking about. Is it someone who has, $400 or $500 and that's all they have to spend? An extruded chassis like this one might not be worth it to them. Going DIY might be just everything that they're looking for because you can get 70% of the way to this building it yourself. So while my heart wants to say DIY 100%, always go DIY or nothing. After driving this for 250 kilometers, I kind of have to admit, this is worth it if you have the money. It should mean that much more that a person who is so DIY would have a hard time deciding between going to the levels that I went to with my sim rig. If you're not ready to do that, buy one of these. That's a really good question. Who should upgrade? Considering an upgrade is another kind of preferential thing, right? Not going for the cop-out, I promise I have an answer for you, but the upgrade process is something you'll have to take into account of, do you want the next level of thing? Like I said earlier, do you want to see what's on the other side of the hill from your DIY rig? Upgrade. If you have a DIY rig like I did that gives you 60, 70, 80% of what this premium extruded chassis can deliver and you're happy with it, don't upgrade. But if you want to see what's next, consider upgrading. If you're on a desk setup and you don't have the tooling necessary, if you don't have the skill or you don't have the tooling necessary to build your own rig, this is worth it. Okay, so those are both really good questions. Who should stay DIY and is DIY still valuable? So we've already answered this, is DIY still viable? Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Who should stay DIY? People who are happy with their DIY setup. Ooh, spicy. What surprised me the most? That's a really good question. I would say it's the little things that I thought would be nuance that were actually night and day differences. That surprised me the most. A perfect example is ingress and egress. For those who aren't sure what I mean by that, how easy it is to get in and out of the sim rig. With my old sim rig, it was a bit of a process because it was built with the foundation of a desk and I, use a bunch of lumber to build around it. You basically were having to get into a fixed seat at a fixed point with fixed pedals every single time and basically climb into a tunnel to drive. Now, once you were seated, it was comfortable, or I should say, once I was seated, once I was seated, it was comfortable. I could sit down and drive for hours. But I will say, going back to my previous phrase, that barrier to entry, you wind up having that path of resistance, right? And especially with the way my brain works, if that path of resistance exists, I will start to make excuses as to why I don't drive that day. But this is, like I said, this is just like sitting into a car. This is literally just like getting in a car. There is no resistance because it's just open. When I sit down, I move my seat into position and I start driving. When I'm ready to stop driving, I just push the seat back and I just get out. I just stand up and I'm done. And it's just like sitting down in my car. I can get in, I can get out, and there's no hassle, there's no struggle. By far, that surprised me the most. What improvement mattered the most? Well, as tempted as I am to rehash what surprised me the most with the ingress and egress, I have to say it's the rigidity. I did not realize the delta between 75% of the way there and 100% of the way there. It's kind of like when you see, those wealth scales and it's like, oh, people in the top 2% are this far ahead, but then people in the top 1% are way up here, that jump from 2% to 1% of the wealth in the world. That is what it's like to go from 75% of the way there to this. Ooh, the real questions. Is this an Endgame chassis? Oh my goodness gracious, that's a good question because you run the risk of saying something that can really make people upset. Is the SimMotion 160mm premium extruded aluminum chassis an Endgame chassis built by VNM? Yes, 100% without a doubt. This is, I'm gonna sound hackneyed when I say this, it's gonna sound cliche, but this is the last sim racing chassis you will ever need to buy. Maybe you'll change out a seat, maybe you'll add motion, maybe, like I said earlier, you'll add tactile transducers. I recommend everyone run haptics. But if you're running a DIY rig or you're running a desk setup and you don't have a sim racing chassis yet, this would be your first and last sim racing chassis you'll ever buy. You will not outgrow this. This is the Alpha and the Omega, or the Sigma, as the kids say. If you go into the link down below and check out my affiliate link, and you save that 5% on your SimMotion premium aluminum extruded chassis, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. With a lot of things that you can buy in sim racing, there's always an up. You buy a 12 Newton meter wheel, there's the 15 Newton meter wheels, there's gated shifters, there's active shifters, there's active gated shifters. If you go on to the SimMotion website and buy this chassis, you'll see there is no up. So that's it. That's my journey of switching from a DIY sim rig to a premium extruded aluminum chassis. I'll tell you what, let us know in the comments down below. What rig are you currently using? Are you using a desk setup, DIY, a premium rig, or something in between? And if you had to think about it, what addition or change or modification actually mattered the most to you and made the biggest difference in your driving day to day? But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it right here. This is a long video. I've got a lot of editing to do with it. I can't believe how big this video is going to be. It's gonna be absolutely insane. I'm gonna be all day editing this thing together. Be on the lookout for future content from me. I look forward to getting better and better now that I've got something that just sits in place and is super rigid.
Pause.
And I hope you look forward to seeing that future progression as well, because I think it's gonna be a super fun journey, and I really hope you join us along the way. But once again, my name is Dave Adams, this is Inside Sim Racing, and I'll see you all in the next one.